Man. Yeah. So, good morning. Guys, I tell you, it's been a wild one. It has been a wild one. But as you got in my last video, I just made it real quick the other day. So, but let me tell you guys what's going on. First, welcome to the channel. You know, if it's your first time here, I'm Latoré, and this is my life. This is what is going on, and some things I'm going to talk about also on these videos is like about what's in my segments, what's going on just in the world too. I may throw some stuff in there about that, but I try to stay away from the political stuff unless it really affects me. Yeah. So we're just gonna start straight off. Back in November, it's Thanksgiving, and I'm like sitting there with my daughter, and we're both like, "Hey." She's like, "Hey, Pop-Up hasn't called me." So I'm like, "Yeah, I know. It's kind of strange. He always calls like the week before Thanksgiving and everything." So I'm like, so I give him a call like a couple days before Thanksgiving and say, "Okay, what's going on? See how he's doing." Doesn't answer. So I call on Thanksgiving Day. My daughter and I call Thanksgiving Day. He answers the phone that morning. And he's slurring his voice. So I'm like, "Oh man, what's happening with this guy?" And he goes, "Oh, I've been drinking." And that's what he told my daughter, because my daughter also calls him that day as well. So he said, "Oh, I've been drinking." And I'm like, that's strange. Now, my dad may have drank when he was younger, but my dad doesn't drink. So I was like, okay, that's BS, because you're not a drinker. You may smoke a pack of cigarettes a day, but one thing I know you're not a drinker. So after during Thanksgiving dinner, I was like, let me give him a call. And I was like, something just is not right. So I call him up again, and he's like, I'm doing well. What's going? But he's slurring his voice is slurred. His voice is slurred. And I said to him, "When did you have your stroke?" And he got mad. He goes, "Who told you I had a stroke?" And I'm like, "You just did." As I know he probably didn't know what a stroke was, but I'm like, I tell him that, and he's like, he's all upset and everything because now I know he has a stroke. He had a stroke. So in the meantime, in this whole thing, I come to find out he has a stroke. He's in the hospital. He's back in Pennsylvania, and I gotta go out there. So I guess it was right after Thanksgiving, like around the 2nd, or about the 5th. I fly out to Pennsylvania, where he's at, and they're like, certain things that old people do is just crazy sometimes. And one of the things is that they want control, and they know they're going to lose control, so they'll say craziest stuff ever. And one of the things he told them was he had no family, so that this way he can go back to his house. And I was like, who does that? Like, why would you say that? I was a little offended by it, but I was like, who does that? Like, and I was realized, like, okay, he just wants to not be in the hospital, and he wanted to also just, go home. So they're like, so he had a stroke in November before Thanksgiving, and he, it's like, I get there, like I say, I left on the 5th. My sister worked for airlines, so it took me like a while to get there. I didn't get to see him until the 7th. So in that process of time, when I got there on the 7th, they were like, "Oh, wow. We're going to, if you didn't come, we were putting him in hospice. I'm like, put him in hospice? He's like, he had a stroke. He's not like, he's not terminal, But they're like, hey, but he said he had no family, and he said he had no insurance, which comes, which is totally not true. He has like the best insurance. I don't know what is. I guess he wasn't thinking, So I was like, all right, well, here's his insurance. I gave him all the information, insurance, and everything. That's a whole nother story in itself. The way how insurance companies work, because this man's been paying insurance since I was 14 years old. For the same insurance company, it's forever, and they act like they don't want to cover anything. They don't want to cover anything. So, and I worked it out. So I ended up, getting a lot of information, stopped him from having to be put in hospice, decided, okay, I'm going to drive him out to the Midwest. We're going to go out there, and because I know the medical in the states that I will reside in at the time, I know the medical is pretty daggone well. I know it's good. So I bring him out here to the Midwest and set him up out here. And that's like right before Christmas, right before my son's birthday, and everything. Everything's going well. Well, come January, it was like time that everybody was getting sick. Everybody's getting like this horrible flu and this other stuff that was going on, and they had like these type of all these other things. I walk upstairs and my dad's on the floor, and I'm like, oh my, I'm like, whoa, this is just too much. What's going, this is crazy for me right now. I don't know what's happening. So he's laying on the floor, and hold on for a second. He's laying on the floor, and he could barely move. And I'm like, my God. It was like the other day we were like at IKEA. He's, even though he had a stroke, he's moving around. He's pushing the cart, but he was a little sluggish. But he's pushing the cart. He was able to walk IKEA up and down the hall, up and down those aisles, upstairs and downstairs. Great, no issues at all. Well, this flu that he caught was the kicker. It was the kicker. It put him down. And when I mean down, he was unresponsive. He was like, my dad is now frail. My dad used to be like my size. A good, 200, well, he was good at that time, it was like 220 pounds. Since the stroke, he's down to, in the last months that he's had the stroke in November and up to even January, he went down to 150 pounds. And, which is, I'd say maybe it happened, maybe he was getting sick and he was like, wasn't doing things. Well, which is, I'm going to tell you what, 220 to 150, that's huge. And that's huge. I mean, the size of that is like, it's, I don't get me wrong. I like to be, I'm good 250. I like to be 180. So, but not that way. It was a drastic change. Other things that changed in him. He was a big smoker. He went cold turkey the day he had the stroke. Cold turkey. Hasn't smoked a cigarette since. So, like I said, during that time, I was like, this man's like laying on the floor. I'm picking him up off the floor, the whole thing. He's he's in some rough shape. He's in some real rough shape. And I'm like, just shocked. I don't know what to do other than like, okay, I'm gonna get him back in his bed. So he's, it's a small apartment. He has his own apartment and everything. So my son comes up, helps me pick him up. Well, we try to help him pick him up, and he's like Jello. And which is not even like, I wasn't expecting it. I couldn't even pick him up. My son couldn't pick him up. We couldn't pick him up to put him in a bed because he's just like, he was a ball of sweat and everything else. Call the ambulance, do the whole thing. They rush him to the hospital. We go to hospital. So now he's back in the hospital after coming out of hospital, and he's pretty angry about this. He's like, that's the worst place for him to be at, is in the hospital. He's scared. He doesn't know what's going on. The whole thing. He's trying to figure out like things that and things are going through his head that like. And my dad's already like, it's like he already has his issues, mental issues. But he was thinking things like, like really bad things. Like he was, not that he was going to die, but like someone's like made him come here and he's not sick and everything else. It was like, because kind of find out he also has dementia. And of course some other mental issues as well. As you get older, you start, things don't all work out up there as much. So anyway, so now second time in the hospital, within less than 30 days, he was in the hospital for. Since he was in the hospital first time. So then comes, so he's in the hospital. He goes there he's in there for 2 weeks. He gets diagnosed with AFib, and which is, your heart is not pumping right and everything, and things aren't going right with that. So now he has that issue, which they said that's probably what caused the stroke. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like, his heart issues. So then, after all that, I'm like, all right, what's the next thing next? Hey guys, I'm gonna stop it right here for 1 minute, and I gotta handle something, and we're gonna continue this. Stay on this. Okay, where was I? Anyway, so we January, he gets the flu, goes back in the hospital, stays there for 2 weeks in the hospital, finds out that he has AFib, does another 2 weeks of rehab, which was going pretty well. And which is great. Gotta have rehab after you have a stroke. But one thing I didn't know was that after you have a stroke, and if you get like the flu or anything, and no matter how much progress you had or how far you've come along and how, and everything else, that friggin' flu will make the stroke 2 times worse than what the stroke really was. So you're talking about a setback. He lost more weight. He was more, disoriented. He was more like his dementia it got worse. His eating, he was combative. He was so combative. I was just most of the time was just like I was lost. Didn't know what to do, how to handle it. All brand new to me, of course. It's not something that you think you don't even think to prepare for this. It's not something you prepare for, unless you're like you literally have to have someone else in your family that that that's like, okay, well, they went through this, I can get through this too. But I didn't prepare for this. I had no idea. You think you know everything until it happens, and that's something you prepare for. Anyway, so after that, he goes 2 weeks into rehab. He does rehab. Now, my dad does not like to be trapped. I mean, he tried to break out of rehab, literally. He was trying to get on a plane, trying to get an Uber back to Pennsylvania. I was like, he didn't know what an Uber was. He called me up and goes, "Hey, I lost the number for Uber in my phone. Can you give me the Uber number?" Now, like I said, my dad. Well, one thing, my dad doesn't do technology, so I was like, I can't give you the number for Uber. I can't give you the number for Uber. He was mad at me because I wouldn't give him a number for Uber. So he was hot, but it was cute. It was funny, you know. So I was like, all right, you know, this guy, he's mad, and they're like, okay. One day he just like, I say like on his 10th day at rehab, he started packing his stuff, and he grabbed some trash bags from somewhere, and he started leaving the hospital. They caught him walking down the hallway, and you know the rehabs, they lock these places down for the elderly, man. They lock it down. Like, you're not going to, like, you know, you're not going to get out or get in. You know, it's locked down. So he's trying to break out of rehab. He's like, he don't want to be there. He does not want to be there, and I can't blame him for that. So, you know, I'm laughing. I'm like, you know, they give me a call. They're all upset because he's a little bit on the hostile side. You know, he's like, hey, you know, you're getting me out of here now. So, anyway, I calmed him down. Got there. You know, he had some issues. You know, it's like it's the whole trap thing. He just needed to know when he was leaving. End of the day, your family member goes to rehab or is inside somewhere they don't want to be, and they're sad. They just want to know when they're leaving. Just give them a day, and let the day be farther out than when it actually may happen. So, you know, so he left and everything. On the day he's supposed to go. It was from that day we started with doctor's appointments, because from that day, like, of him after, you know, while he was in rehab, we had some doctor's appointments had to go through. It took us months to get neurology on board. It took us months to get to go see a primary care doctor in the state. It took us a while to really, really home it in. I mean, we went to the VA, but it took a while to get these things going. And one of the biggest challenges I had was actually PT. That was the biggest challenge I had, was to do that. And when you're out of the system, I'm gonna tell you this right now. If you try to get neurology on board, and even with the best insurance, you're going to pay some serious money. It's not cheap. Neurology is so expensive, but luckily he's a vet. So being a vet, and we're both vets, being vets, the cost is a lot less unless you make a certain amount of money. Because there is no co-pays if you make under a certain amount. Unfortunately, his case and my case, we make over a certain amount, so our household income is a little higher. So we don't get, you still have to pay a copay when you're at a higher, when your household income is high. So, yeah. But it's not as high as it is if he was just using his insurance. That's when it gets a little crazy. It's like, I think one visit, even with insurance, was running us $700, and the visit with for the VA was $50. Big difference in price. So for those who don't have insurance, I tell you what, it's I don't know how you can do it without Medicaid and Medicare if you don't have that, because we don't even have that. But one of the things was definitely about the cost and trying to get an appointment. I mean, it's taken months. It took months. We got here in December, and I put it in, and they weren't going to see us. They weren't going to see us until March for his first appointment. And I'm like, man, I got to get all this stuff together. So I skipped a lot of stuff that happened at the hospital in Pennsylvania. It's just it's irrelevant. I'll probably come back to it later on in life, and talk about it, because it started hitting me, delayed response started really hitting me, and said, daggone, this was kind of messed up. So one of the things is like, we went through neurology, went the whole process, did all that stuff. Got him sent to VA. VA is awesome. If I give it to these guys, they really put it in. And, even with everything that's happening, new president and all the other stuff that's been happening, it's, they were affected, but not as badly as from what I see. Not as bad as what media probably is putting out there. And maybe I just don't, maybe because of what I'm going through and what he's going through, I don't see it. So, so during this whole process, they got him an AFib. Everything is like, okay, he has AFib, fibrillation, whatever it is, and he has a heart issue. It's not pumping the way it is. They're like, oh, that's probably the cause of the stroke. So, he stopped smoking. He's been smoking since he was freaking 12 years old. He's been smoking since he was 12 years old. Sorry about that, hit the radio. He's smoking a long time. My dad's 75. He's smoking a long, long time. So, during this whole time, there's other things that, that are going on too. And, he's still losing weight, but he's getting his appetite back. He's able to speak better, which is great. He's able to speak better. He's able to do things he supposed that he wants to do. One of the biggest things, I guess was, just him, being able to swallow. And they were like, he had swallowing issues. During the whole process, actually during the whole time of the stroke, he's been having swallowing issues. He couldn't swallow. And this is something that's always been like an issue through since I remember, when he used to live with me in Philadelphia. He's always had issues, like he would get caught in his chest, and he would cough it up. He would cough, to get get it up. He said it was like gas or whatever. So I never really thought about it myself. So I'm like, all right, well, he's getting better and everything. He's seeing speech therapists. She's working on him being able to swallow. He's able to swallow now. He's able to get all that stuff. Well, he has blood, so he's taking blood thinners because now he has AFib. He has to take blood thinners. So I'm like, all right, well, that's cool. Things are gonna be better. He's gonna get his strength. It took a lot of time to get him to really get him to walk and do certain things. So during the whole time of that, March comes along. All right. He's like, I don't feel well. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, I just don't feel well. I'm like, all right, well, maybe we'll go to doctors. We'll go to doctors tomorrow. We'll go to doctors tomorrow. So he's like, okay, we'll go to doctors tomorrow. So I'm gonna pull over here, guys. It's easier for me to talk and I pull over here. And so we decided we're gonna go to doctors and everything. And I was like, all right, well, I talked to a nurse on the phone, and she's like, yeah, bring him in. We'll run a test and everything. He has black stool. Sorry for saying it, but that's what happened. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what black stool is. I have no clue at all what black stool is. It's like, once again, I'm in an area I don't know anything about and not prepared for, because I never even thought about it, being prepared for something like this. So, he gets there. They're like, holy smoke. He's losing blood. I'm like, he's not bleeding. I don't see, he has no scars. He's not throwing up. No, that's not how he's losing blood. So I was like, oh my gosh, so go through the whole thing. He would go on that night at the ER, we thought, she was like, oh, it's going to go to ER, he'll be in and out. To the VA, usually when you go to VA, ER, at least where I'm at, if you're a stroke victim, they see you instantly. They're like, boom, you're going straight. We're just pushing you right through. He was in the ER within 5 minutes after arriving there, and then you're going. Then the doctors come in and check. That's the first thing, to making sure you're not having another stroke. And then he went to the ER. We did the thing. We did all that stuff. They run their tests, and they're like, okay, he needs a transfusion. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? I'm like, what's going? Like, what do you mean? I'm still like lost in things. I'm like, what do you mean he needs a transfusion? I'm still lost. So we do all that. They decide they're gonna keep him, and I was like, listen, do whatever you do. Keep him downstairs. Don't put him upstairs. If you put him upstairs, he's going to friggin' lose it. He's going to lose it. He's going to be like, hey, I don't want to be here, blah, blah, blah. He's already doesn't, in the ER, he's like, okay. I'm like, Dad, if you're here, you're comfortable, you're not going to stay long. Probably should have said that. Next day, I get a phone call. Hey, we got to move your dad upstairs. I'm like, well, what's going on? Why you got to move him upstairs? They're like, yeah, we got to move him upstairs. I'm like, oh, man. I already know how this is going to go. So I get there, and he's upstairs, and he's friggin' heated. He's heated. He's like, yo, you told me I was going to be here for 15 minutes. I've been here for 3 days. I've been here for 3 days. So he goes through all the tests. They do a whole mental thing on him, too, because, he's kind of combative. He's not, it's rough. It's rough with him at the moment. He's, doesn't want, like I said, doesn't want to be there. During the whole process, out of nowhere, they're like, well, he can't swallow his food. I'm like, he's been swallowing his food. During the whole process, he gets hit with cancer. And it's not a cancer scare. It's full-blown cancer, 3rd stage. It's cancerous esophagus. And I wasn't expecting that, to be honest with you. That's, once again, stroke, AFib, now esophagus cancer, it's cancer esophagus. I feel bad for the guy at this point. He's done some crazy stuff in my life. But I don't want someone to have to go through all 3 things, And so when you'll see it, like I dropped off in November. And one of the reasons why I dropped off in November was this was like one of the reasons why. Like November I dropped off was basically because of the my dad had a stroke, and it's taken this long for me to get back on track. When you take care of someone in a situation, it's not easy. It's not, especially when you're doing it by yourself. It is not easy at all. It is work. It's different than taking care of an adult is totally different than taking care of a child, especially, it's in this situation. It's like, yeah, it's, I just pick them up, take care of them if it's a child, but no. So, it's, what is it? It's May now. A lot has been going on. With the cancer, we're not going to do radiation. We're not going to do, well, he's not going to do radiation. He's not going to do chemo. And he's not going to do the surgery. And I get it. I totally get it. For him, he's 75 years old. Everyone has a time in their life where they're like, okay, this is a time where I'm ready to go. Me, I'm like 125, 150, I'll be ready to go then. you know. And that's just my mentality. That's just my, it's like I still have a lot of this world I got to see, a whole lot of it. But I totally get where he's at, and all I could do is be supportive in that. Is totally be supportive. Like I said, we're doing homeopathic things, and we're putting things together, and a lot of juices, eating food the right way. It's actually, I'm eating food myself the right way, and not just as a, I'm doing some pre maintenance, and watching what I eat, and watching what I take in myself. Man, you don't take this life for granted. Live it to the fullest. Pay attention to the signs, and be prepared. It's we just keep going and going and going and don't enjoy things. Or we enjoy things, or we enjoy some of the wrong things. It's, I don't know what to tell you. It's I'm not really going through this. I'm the outsider looking at someone else going through this, and I'm not going to tell them how they should be doing it, because they're in the moment of how they're dealing with it. All I can do is support his decisions on the right way he wants to make, but at the same time help guide him into some better decisions, and lifestyles and things like that. I just, I'm just kind of in this thing right now where I'm trying to figure out everything. And one of the reasons, like, the videos are short, the videos aren't coming in fast, and it did stop, was because of this. This took over my life. But I do have an audience that do want to see things, that what's going on, and some adventures I've been going through. This YouTube thing is really, really hard. People think, oh, it's just easy. No, it's hard, man. You gotta have content every single day, and some things, I'm really personal with certain things I don't want to talk about. I just don't want to talk about, and I'm like, you know what? This is therapy too. Telling you things, this is therapy. So there's a lot of things I just don't want to talk about. I don't want to talk about certain issues in the family and things. Some things just is none of your business. And it's very personal. I watch some of these YouTubers, they put a lot of too much personal stuff out. Way too much personal stuff out. I don't know if I could have a kid and have you follow me around with my baby, because I look at it like, I'm kind of like, I look at it like, your exploitation type thing, with your kids. So I'm a little worried about that though. But anyway, another story another time. That's just personal. I'm not going to push my views on you with stuff like that. Really don't want to do that. It's not my goal. But what I am going to say to you though is that, one of the other things is, your parents are your parents, and the things they've done in the past is things they've done in the past. As children, we do have a responsibility as children, and we do have to take care of them as well as they had to take care of us. And we got to be better than them. We have to be better than them. I know, mental abuse and neglect is just as bad as physical. But man, I can't even tell you, like, if you're right or wrong. If you're like, hey, screw that guy, screw that girl, that woman, we'll just say that it's you take care of your parents. Take care of your parents. Just, it's not even about religion. It's not about, just set an example for your own children if you have them, and So they'd be like, hey, well, my dad took care of my dad, or my dad took care of my mom, or my mom took care of her parents, and went through hell, to get there, because there's things that a lot of us don't have the same relationships with our parents. I didn't have that relationship with my dad like that. He was my dad, loved him to death, but at the same time, we were totally on two different planets. There was no going playing baseball. There was there was a lot of anger in the house, and there was a lot of distance I kept. I just worked, didn't come home. I didn't really know my father until I was 14 years old. I knew him, but I didn't know him. He wasn't like part of like my existence so much, So I'm just like, your parents are who they are, and it's just look out for them and pay attention to what's going on. Pay attention to them. Give them a call. Talk to them. Tell them like, hey, it's like just talk to them and listen. That's the biggest thing with all of us. We all gotta listen to each other. Even our kids, we gotta listen to each other. So, where am I at today? I'm kind of like, I'm getting my time back because I'm actually talking to you. A lot has been going on with other things. So I'm talking to you guys. So I'm getting my time back in life. That's where I'm at today. That's where my my head is at, is getting all that back and getting back on board, getting my it takes, when something like this jumps in your life, you don't know how to, if you don't know how to handle it, you don't know how to handle it. It's like, it takes a lot out of you. And this has taken a lot out of me. But, hey guys, thank you for listening. And if you listen all the way through, share this video, comment below. I'm not looking for someone to feel sorry for me. I just want, I know that some of you are out there and you're probably in the same place I'm at, and you're just trying to figure it all out, and it gets to be overwhelming, really overwhelming. So I look forward to hearing from you. Look forward to sharing some more videos with you. There's some other stuff going on, probably gonna share with you. That's like, I don't usually share like what bothers me. I share information on how I feel about things, but not so much of what bothers me, because this doesn't bother me. I'm actually happy that I can take care of my father. I'm happy that I actually cook breakfast for him, and I can cook breakfast for him because I love to cook, and I can prepare his dinner for him every single day. And I'm happy I can do that, and we can take these last moments and be together. He's in life, even with he's been through a lot of experiences that I didn't have to experience. And that's been a big deal. So I may start experiencing some of the videos with you, and maybe shoot videos of him, and so you can see him and meet him, my crazy old man. So, but guys, I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you for following me, and those who have been following me and are stuck in there, the 2,800 people who are stuck in there. Even if you just had me on your just haven't deleted me yet, thank you. And I look forward to next time. Talk to you real soon. I gotta get in the house. Bye.